guys, and welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. I cannot tell you how much I've been looking forward to this interview with Bo Polny. Here's the deal, guys. He's no stranger to you. He's definitely no stranger to you if you're following our mom's blogs, because she includes his videos in almost every single one. But we ran into him at Clay Clark's Reawaken America tour in Canton, Ohio, a couple of weekends ago. And I was doing an interview and I watched him pass. And I was trying to somehow, while I'm doing a live interview, get my sister's attention and be like, I think that's Bo Polny. Like I couldn't, like I'm trying to engage the interview and then I'm trying to get her attention. But it ended up being, as soon as we finished the interview, we were able to kind of give him a little tug like, hey, Bo. And we hit it off. We went out to dinner. Bo actually treated us to dinner. He and his beautiful wife, Sophia, who we're going to interview tomorrow.
It's an amazing testimony. You guys don't want to miss it.
You do not want to miss it. So Bo, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
Oh, I gotta tell you, I had so much fun meeting you. And then my wife was sitting in the audience. I went to go get her later, and I go, "Hey, I want you to meet my 3 new friends." And she goes, "What do you mean?" Because you're one of your was one more person there with you, and is the funniest thing. And she totally clicked with you guys as well too. Yeah. So it was a pleasure, and not even pleasure, it was a blessing.
Yeah,
meeting you guys, both of you, and thank you for for taking the time to talk and. Let's have fun today. So yeah.
I think we are going to have fun.
The third person was Cassandra, and we just did an amazing interview with her last night. She and Sophia have a lot in common with their past. And I think that there's a dynamic here happening that God is doing across the nation and across the world, where he is bringing healing from the depths of our souls, because we have to be ready and healed for what he has in store for us. So let's just dive right in. You guys don't know much.
And to top on what you're saying, right? What is evil? What is Satan's agenda, right? How do you beat people? You divide and you conquer, right? And so what's God doing? He's bringing people together. How beautiful is that?
No, it's amazing.
He does. And he is. And I love these different events where they've shut us down. They censored us. I think you're still on YouTube. I don't know how. God. You're just they don't understand what you're saying.
So it doesn't.
So that's just like, you know what? We're just let that crazy Christian guy talk about like gold and silver and whatever.
And timelines.
They don't like us. I guess we weren't crazy enough. But Bo has an amazing following across multiple platforms. And what he goes into, God has given him a very special anointing, kind of a gift to see God's hand throughout time and kind of look at the numbers and put things together.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing gift that you have. Maybe you could kind of tell our viewers a little bit about your show if they come in and watch.
And how you got started,
in a YouTube channel, because I don't think it's a secret. You were a chiropractor for the majority of your adult life.
So now you're just adjusting people's thinking instead of their bodies, which is still important.
Yeah, my story's funny. I was born in Canada, moved to California, graduated youngest, I think second youngest in my class, right near the top of my class. I was 22 years old. I was licensed got licensed in California. I worked for 20 years, had one of the largest clinics. I grew from nothing, one of the largest clinics in California, ended up having orthopedic surgeons working for me. Internists, and so it was quite the experience. And one day 9/11 hit, and I'm starting realize it's probably a lot more going on in the world than me just going to an office every single day. And you hit 40 and life changes.
Yeah.
That's when was it Moses? That's when he went up to Mount Sinai. Like all the stories are like that. 40 years is like, for whatever reason, God, I felt I had a larger calling in my life to do something bigger, and bigger. And so that was, the first step of my life. And then we went through a lot of, worldly changes. And next thing you know, I'm studying gold patterns and realizing that gold patterns tend to replay themselves. And then I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Well, gold is God's money, isn't it? So I looked at Bible Revelation. Then I started discovering that it's Daniel's timeline, 7 years. You could break it down into 42 months, which then you can break down into 21 months. 7 times 3 is 21. You're back to the Trinity and a 7. So you're back to 7 again. So that's a circle. And then you realize that Daniel's the biblical timeline, a year in God's calendar is 360 days. hey, isn't a circle 360 degrees?
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah, so you start realizing that, and that kind of took me on my journey of, discovering what a cycle is. And so cycle, and then I discovered in the Bible, there's actually a line, and it's Ecclesiastes 1:9. That which has been will be again. There is nothing, that which has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. And so that has been my premise from day one. It's been on my website from day one as to really what I do. The world is not random. It's the farthest thing from it. Okay. The world has been created by God, and it's by design. So you can predict what's going to happen in advance based on cycles, not events, but you can predict cycles. So you can predict the advanced movement of precious metals before it happens. It's possible. It's had a very good track record of that. It's impossible to be perfect, but accuracy, pushing it into the 80s and 90 percentile is quite possible, actually. And then I applied that pattern based on my wife, said, you got to get involved in crypto. And then so I analyzed those patterns of cryptocurrencies, and I was able to now, because cryptos are such a big hit right now in the world, we have one of probably the highest track records of predicting Bitcoin's movement in the world.
Wow.
Before it ever happens. So we don't get it 100%, but man, I don't think there's anybody close to our track record.
Wow.
For predicting in advance what Bitcoin will do. It's pretty crazy. I write a report sometimes like, hey, for the next 3 days it's going to go up, and it's funny to write this stuff because when you read it, like, this guy must be insane, and then it happens, and then it happens just like I write. So it blows my mind too. But I just write what I see, because I see that coming, and because I write out the future pattern, and then it happens. Does it happen all the time? No, but when it happens 90% of the time, it is crazy to see that happen.
Yeah.
And there was a time last year, or even into this year, where we got like 20. Or is it 15 turns? We got 13 to the exact day in a span of 4 months.
Wow. Get out.
Yeah. So so that's, but how do you do it? Because that which has been will be again. There's nothing new under the sun. And that takes us into our presentation today. Okay. There's something that happened thousands of years ago. What was it? The Exodus.
Yes.
Okay. And so that which has been will be again.
Mm-hmm.
And now this year, we are stepping into not the Exodus. This is the great one. This is the one that's going to shake the earth. This is the one that's going to cause people to say there must be a God.
I love it.
Because of what just happened, there is absolutely no way that this could have happened without God. So these are going to be words that are spoken here very shortly. People are going to be saying, this is just impossible. How could this happen? It's not possible. We've never seen this before. But yet it happened. So therefore it must be of God. There must be a God.
Okay, so
that's what God's about to do. He needs to wake up his church because they're so asleep. It's ridiculous. You and I talk, and we know what's going on, right? You go outside and 99% of the population's asleep. Go ahead.
No, that's it. No, that's it. I feel like, so my mom asked me, I read a word that God had given me in 2019 on our show last night. And she said this to me. She goes, do you think you could read that to Bo? And this is where it ties in. So I want to go ahead and read it now, because what you're saying about the church and where God is taking us, like it's going to be an awakening for the church.
Yeah.
Like we've never been here before. And it's going to be such a thing that it's going to cause people to go, there has to be a God. And I think that unfortunately in the patriot movement, whether you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, it feels like it's too big, like it can never happen. But so was crossing the Red Sea. So I write things down, and then God, that's how God speaks through me and to me. So I'm just going to read the little last part of this paragraph. And I asked God, and then what? And he said, and then you will see my spirit pour out on this nation like spreading fire, and my holiness and purity will be on the hearts of families, and all the chains shall break, and the shackles will come loose, and they will look to each other as having come out of a stupor, and changing the laws of this land will be easy and smooth, and the wicked will fear and tremble and be cut off, and the rest will retreat into the shadows where they belong, as we enter into the reign of righteousness. And so I just see what you're saying here is there's going to be something that's so big. Guys, I don't know what it is, but it's going to be so big that it's going to cause the entire world to wake from their stupor and to go, there has to be a God. And so could you expound on how you got to that point of something going to happen?
I know what God spoke to me, but how did he speak it to you?
So big that they're going to go, oh my gosh, there has to be a God.
So you're saying, what's on my heart? You're saying at the beginning, like, so I sometimes get words, and I don't get like, prophets, they write, they speak. Okay. So I'm not a prophet, and I want to be very clear about this, but they're still messengers. Okay.
And really so good.
Like, what you do, you may be a prophet, I don't know, but I do know that you get words. Okay.
Right.
I've seen you do it. Okay. When we met. Okay. My point being is that everybody can connect with God. That's really important to understand. You don't need a middleman. Okay. Evil created religion. Okay. I'm not poking at any single religion. I'm going to poke at them all, because every single religion is man-made. Why did they make religion? To control man. So period.
Right.
They took the truth, and every religion took the truth and twisted a piece of it.
Yeah.
To make it fit their needs.
That's so good.
And so that's evil getting in the middle of everything. So that's what evil does, right?
Yeah.
I got that from my wife, actually, so I got to give her credit. But that's what evil does. He gets in the middle. So man will create something with good intent. Just like when man created the dollar, right? Evil got in the middle of it, detached it from gold, and next thing you know, you got fiat currency that they can create to infinity. So you got satanic money now, right?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is that evil gets in the middle. So like the marriage was a perfect example. You get married, right? And so it's between you, your spouse, and God, right? Well, then the government got in the middle of that. Now they can control your children, right? So evil gets in the middle of everything, and then they screw everything up, for their own benefit. And that's where religion came from. Okay.
Yeah.
So the whole point, of what you're describing, what you read, you can actually give this to your mom. It's Malachi 4:5-6. And this will rhyme with what you just said, because if you're ever not sure about something, go back to the Bible.
Yes.
Okay. That's so important, because go back to the word. And so that today we're going to talk about prophetically what we've heard through some of the prophets, maybe what you feel in your heart, what I feel in my heart, and also the word.
Yeah.
And we're going to layer it in together, and you're going to go, holy mackerel. What ends up happening is that you start so what is revelation, right? It's like waking up to hey, I'm learning, you're getting revealed. It's revelation,
unveiling,
right?
Yes.
So that's really what it's, so it's a revelation is a portrait.
Yes.
And so prophets give pieces, and different prophets give different pieces.
Right.
You get a piece, I'll get a piece as well too, from our insight. And then so a picture begins to get painted.
Yes.
That's so good. It's like
and
a puzzle.
The picture then turns into a portrait.
Yeah.
And that's revelation. So as we're now 2 years into this, we're starting to see more of the picture starting to become more clear. The portrait's beginning to reveal itself.
That's so good.
Isn't this incredible? What's been happening?
It's really good.
Yes.
So let's read Malachi. Okay, Malachi 4. It says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet." Well, we got Kent Christmas. We got Robin Bullock.
Yeah.
We got Amanda Grace.
Right.
We got all kinds of prophets that are, and there's a lot. Everyone's a prophet nowadays. Okay, but there are some rock stars. Okay.
Yeah.
The three I mentioned. Okay, those are rock stars.
Absolutely.
Okay? And when I say rock stars, I mean they are just seriously connected to God. It's really truly incredible. So my point being is that let's finish reading Malachi. So, behold, I will send you the prophets. So these prophets are the spirit of Elijah. They're on the earth right now.
Yeah.
They're here. Okay.
Yeah.
Before the coming, I will send the prophet of Elijah before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children,
right,
and the hearts of the children to their fathers. And that's what you just said.
Yeah.
So there's a second witness to what you just read.
Amen. That's powerful. That's so good. That's so good. Okay. So when we come to this feeling that I have, that you have, that a lot of the prophets that you just mentioned have, that God is about to do something.
Oh, and I was going to mention Julie Green, rock star.
Yeah. I just was introduced, not physically introduced to her, but to her material. I just found out about her. Let me put it that way. And I think it was through you being on her show, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I hear prophets speak, I see the cycles of the future, so I know if they're full of it or if they're like, they're the real deal,
so
right?
True.
And so I'm telling you, so the four that I've mentioned, and also Lois Vogel Sharp, those 5 are true rock stars, and so those are the real rock stars, not what's going on in Hollywood and everywhere else.
Yeah, no, I get it. So what are the things that you're seeing in the cycles that kind of are melding with what the prophets are getting, that God's actually getting ready to do something awesome?
Right. So what I have in my cycles is the greatest move. I have it. So I have the move that's about to happen. He showed me how to calculate it. And so I have the move that's about to happen. I don't know the day. I want to be clear with this. I have the cycle, the pattern. I don't have the day and the hour, but I believe the week, and I do have the month. Okay. How this is about to play out. So the cycles, and because how do you calculate? How do you figure things out? Well, God does nothing before first speaking through his servants, the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we know that. So that's a way of confirming what I'm saying. What is a cycle? Cycles. What is God's money? Well, you read Haggai 2:8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. I've been on Elijah Street when I stated this. This is so critically important to understand the concept of what I'm about to say here is God's kingdom, and he's going to say it both ways. God's kingdom that we're waiting for, the birth of it, the rise of God's kingdom, okay? The kingdom economy, God's kingdom that's going to rise will not rise without God's money. But I'm going to repeat this. God's money, gold and silver, will not rise until the birth of God's kingdom.
I'm going to cry.
So they're tied at the hip. Neither one is going to happen. That's why gold and silver has been manipulated for generations, because it's God's money. And an evil got in the middle of the money system, and then they've created bond. They basically put everybody in bondage for 30 years. Okay,
bonds are bondage.
So you're in bondage for 30 years, or you owe for your college education $200,000-$300,000. So everybody's in bondage.
Yes.
And if you don't have that, you got a credit card. So you're in bondage right now. So this is the whole essence. They've created a money system where everybody's in bondage. And now it's a matter of, how do we get out of it? And so this is where we're going to see something truly biblical occur, where God's going to intervene. And so that takes me to the word, so that's why gold and silver will not rise without God's kingdom, the birthing of it. And the birthing of the God's kingdom will be tied in directly with the move of God's money. And what is God's money? Well, we know that silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. So to answer your question, there's a move that's about to happen, which I see on my charts right now, that only happened once in history. And I have the chart for it. And it's about to happen again. And it goes back hundreds of years, these cycles, some of them. And so there's a move that's about to happen that's going to be historic, and it's going to happen in April. And
it melds with my spirit.
It melds with my
That's
spirit.
exactly
It melds
what
with,
God's
see, when you get this is so God. Okay. No, seriously, we ran into you on the very last moment at Canton. This is a shift that we have gotten since Michelle was homeschooled in high school, and she's bringing out this textbook, and she's like, we have to pull all our money out of the bank and buy gold. And my
mom's a single mom. She's got like $700 in there.
We can't buy the gold, but we believe it. Okay. We know. And so since then it began we went on the journey. We've been following the gold charts. We've been following the silver charts. We personally recommend silver because that's where we're at financially. We've actually had some viewers send us some gold. It's very little. It comes in like these little tiny squares.
We've bought some
but
gold,
here's the thing, if you had gotten in on gold in the early 90s, you would just be set. Okay, this gold has skyrocketed
and it's still undervalued.
Well, no, it's still undervalued.
This is the thing, okay? So everything's relative. So I agree with what you're saying, but here's the thing is, okay, you want to say gold is skyrocket. Okay, well, that's fine and dandy, right? But look at Bitcoin. You know, it was $1 or $2, and now it's $40,000.
Sure,
okay,
sure.
So that's called a skyrocket versus gold.
Right, yeah.
$250 back in 1999.
That's a good point.
Gold's got a God cycle, you know, just again, back to God, right? So a year ends at 12 months, right? 12 apostles. Okay. So 1999, 12 years, gold topped out in 2011. So exactly 12 years. Okay. So
you're right.
It's a really good point. So, but when it topped out, it went from $250, $253, I believe it was, to $1,920 in 2011. So that's not, and so right now it's back to that price level again. But see, again, they've been manipulating it forever. So what they do, how they do this is paper contracts. Okay. James 5, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for the miseries that shall come upon you. Your gold and silver is cankered. Boom. Okay, so this is not God's gold and silver. Your gold and silver, that's their paper contracts, is cankered.
So you're bringing to our viewers the biblical side of this. It's my mom does this a lot, and it's really important,
right? Because she gets it from your show.
Well, yeah, but it's been in her spirit when you're talking about like. I do have to, I'm going to walk that back a little bit because gold, you're right. It did not skyrocket the way it should and where it should be. And it's, you know,
I'm not knocking you. I'm saying you're right. It went up, but this is the problem, right? It's not done what it's supposed to have done.
Exactly.
And so we're waiting for that moment in time. That's what we're still waiting for it to have that moment in time that we truly are going to see what's called when commodities is called true price discovery.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So Bitcoin is experiencing true price discovery. That's why it's $40,000. Okay. Because they're creating money out of thin air. So therefore, Bitcoin is experiencing with all the manipulation. The only manipulation they can do with Bitcoin is they all call each other up. Hey, okay, on Friday afternoon, but usually it's in the cycle, so we know that, right? On Friday afternoon on the 21st, let's all like go on the news and we're all gonna like poo-poo on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what they do. And then you see, Bitcoin died again, right? So Bitcoin just died, and it's died like 500 times already, and it keeps going back to life all the time because the point is because there's only 21 million ever to be made, so you cannot manipulate it that much, no matter how much paper they can create. The problem is ultimately you can't control it to its degree you want because there's a finite amount of Bitcoin. Okay, right. So it is experiencing to some degree of what's called true price discovery. On the other hand, gold and silver, they're not experiencing true price discovery,
right? Because
they've got what's called paper contracts. And so paper contracts, they sell that contract 500 times over. So it's like you bought a car and you take that car and you sell it to 500 of your friends.
Right.
Okay. So that's what they did.
Explanation I have heard anybody do. Thank you.
So
can you explanation?
So they keep selling the car over and over again at the same price.
Exactly.
And that's why they can hold it there.
So can you explain to people what happened during the silver squeeze last year? Was it last year or the year before? 2020?
I think it was 2020.
2020. When there was this I think it was 2020, the silver squeeze, the big silver squeeze
with Wall Street bets.
With Wall Street bets. So how in the world did that not, it didn't, I tried to explain it to my viewers, but can you explain how that number, the price of silver just kind of didn't move?
Well, so here's the thing about it, okay? We are sitting in the old era, okay? We're sitting in Babylon, okay? Babylon hates gold and silver. Period. Okay. Ooh. So when you want to see gold and silver go up, when's it going to go up? What did we say earlier? It's going to go up with God's kingdom. Well, God's kingdom, right?
That's so the whole God's show kingdom, right there.
Right. So God's kingdom is going to be, God's not going to, thy kingdom come.
Right.
First off, holy is your name. Okay. You got to give God glory. Okay.
Amen.
Holy is your name. Okay. That's critical. But thy kingdom come. He's bringing his kingdom to earth. When he brings his kingdom to earth, we're here to build his kingdom, and he's going to bring his kingdom, but we need to prepare, right? So thy kingdom come. He's bringing his kingdom to earth. He's not coming to an earth that's using some fake paper monetary system, okay? So he's going to so all of Babylon will be destroyed because that's finished. A new kingdom is coming. So the things that were built of Babylon get wiped out. in the next 2 to 3 months. It's
Wow.
going to be crazy.
No, it's awesome. So what's this one cycle that's only been done one time in history?
Well, yeah. So the pattern that I'm looking at, yes, it's very, very rare pattern, and it's set for April. Now, the interesting part is that tied in with when we were in Clay Clark, right? Amanda Grace goes on stage, and actually, so yeah, I've got her words here, but the point of her word is very simple. God's speaking right through her, and okay, this is the critical thing. There's people that that are prophets. We acknowledge them to be prophets. But it's really important. I want to emphasize it's so important. When a prophet speaks, you have to ask yourself the question, you have to discern, is the Holy Spirit, is the fire in them? And are they speaking the word of God?
Right.
Or is the fire not in them at that moment in time and they're just speaking?
Wow.
And they're man, right?
Yeah.
And they're flesh. So you have to just discern, because there's people
important
out there that are prophets that are saying things, right? And they may have had a dream. And then so they're giving their interpretation of the dream. That's not prophetic. That's a prophet speaking.
That's good.
Oh, that's so good.
I know the difference in myself all the time. Like I had my mom will say that too. She's like, no, this is God. And this is coming from, and Paul said it too, right? He's like, he speaks words. He's like, no, this is from heaven. And like, he goes, this is from me. And there, you have to differentiate. One who's using wisdom after you've gotten the word from God. And then one just straight comes.
And like you said, like you mentioned with dreams, you can get a legit dream from God, and then our translator doesn't get it right.
Yeah, there's prophets out there that are saying God comes in 200-300 years from now, but those were interpretations of dreams. Okay, and I've seen prophets, and I got on my slideshow here that literally say, we are, we're here. You got 2.5, 3, you got 3 years, 4 years. Robin Bullock's on Elijah's stream saying, that the legal time for Christ's return is 2030 to 2031. That doesn't mean he's coming back then, but he can't return until then. I was on the Elijah stream back in November. What I say? It's not mathematically possible. I'm a math guy, right? It's not mathematically possible for Christ to return until at least 2030. Period. Because Revelation 12 sign, children don't get married, and so based on the Hebrew calendar, the Hebrew clock that God gave the Jews, you have a bar mitzvah. Well, you turn 13, so you got to add 13 years to the Revelation 12 sign. So the earliest possible mathematical time calculation would be 2030, because that would be the legal age of marriage. Would be 13 years, or actually when a child turns into a man. That doesn't mean that the 13-year-old is going to get married. Okay, the point is it's not possible until 2030. Okay, so this is why it's so important to discern who's speaking and what they're saying, and most importantly is that when they're speaking, the videos that I've got there on my supply presentation, these are they got the fire. When Ken Christmas talks, he's got the fire on him, and if that's not Ken Christmas speaking, it's the fire, it's the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Speaking the word of God. So it's really important to discern who you're listening to. But that's why gold and silver, going back to that concept, the concept is they've created money out of thin air. They can continue to do that. They create what's called paper contracts. Paper contracts they can sell over and over and over again hundreds of times. So they keep selling it at the same price. I don't know if there's any did I miss a question that you had, or I think that I get that?
I think that I actually had two on the one with the silver squeeze. How come?
Oh, the silver squeeze. That's what I knew. I missed the question. Yeah. So the silver squeeze. So that was basically we're still in there. We're still in Babylon, right? So thy kingdom come we haven't had the birth yet. So we're coming into birthing pains right now. That's what's going on in Ukraine and everything right now. So we're birthing pains. And so next thing you know, United States is going to get involved in the birthing pains. So we haven't had the birth yet. And so therefore, even if you do a silver squeeze, I don't care who does it. You can have the most wealthy people on earth go do a silver squeeze. 2 days later, they got it back under control again.
Yeah. How did they do that though? What did they do manipulating behind the scenes?
So basically they went in and they tag teamed it, and they went opposite the trade. Everybody's they're always going short on silver, so they had a whole bunch of people go long at the same time. Basically, they had to buy it up all the same time. So there's too many buyers relative to sellers. So all the sell orders that were there's enough buyers. They took them all. They took all the sell orders, and they basically scooped them all up, and it spiked the price really quickly. And so it freaked them out. But again, all they have to do is, they get back to the computer on Monday, because that happened through a weekend, on a Friday or something. They create a bunch more money. They go in and buy, and they create a bunch more sell orders, and they brought the price right back down again. So that's what they do. They're trying to keep silver under $26. and they're trying to keep gold under $2,000. So those are the key numbers right now. So you can't have silver go through 26. You can't have gold go through 2,000. Okay, those are like the rock hard numbers. And you know what? And so when silver goes through 26, it's not going to go to 27, 28, 29. Slowly. It's going to do that relatively quickly, I believe. And then when it pops through 30, it's going to go to 60.
Okay.
So it's just going to multiply.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay?
No.
And then when that happens, what you're going to see is, you can go on eBay, or you can go to these, the dealers, and you can, hey, I can do an order, right? They're going to close their doors. So all of the internet's going to get shut down to purchases, because the dealer won't know what to sell it for, because the price is jumping so quickly. Right. So they won't know what to sell it for. Number two is, if they go ahead and sell everything, they don't know what they're going to have to, if they're going to want to repurchase, they don't know what price they're going to buy it at. So, right. If the price jumps up to $200, now they have to rebuy at $200. You see what I'm saying? So, so we're coming into what's called the greatest wealth transfer in human history. So it's one of these things where you're in or you missed it.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah. And that's it. So I want to kind of expound on something here, where you're kind of getting with this Babylonian system. And this ties into everything. And because this is the second time that I've heard it. Now, the first time I heard it was, we're kind of in the middle of our governor race here in Ohio. And one of the candidates that's running for governor is Ron Hood. He and Candace Keller spoke at Canton. And he said something to us off camera. And he said, listen, that seat in Columbus is demonically held. And it doesn't matter who takes the seat, whether they're a Christian or a Democrat or a Republican or whatever, it's always going to have the same result as long as the seat is demonically held. And so what you're saying here, when it comes to the monetary system, it doesn't really matter what you do, as long as it's in the Babylonian system.
And the Babylonian system is because it's a fallen angel. You are taking on Antichrist. You're taking on Lucifer, on which in heaven now his name is Satan. You're taking. So the problem is he's a fallen angel. Okay, man cannot conquer a fallen angel. You, by praying the blood of Jesus, he has no control over you. You're individually, but as a collective, he runs the earth.
Right.
That's the issue. And so what's going on in the earth is that's why Christ returns. Christ takes him on and shows him who's king.
Well, there are principalities and powers that
right. That's what it is. Yes. And so evil, and it goes back, and this whole thing goes back to the Garden of Eden. They led on evil. Evil got led on the earth. Mm-hmm. And so it's a 6,000 year journey back to it's a 7,000 year cycle. Okay. So if you watch my work, it's 421. That's like the key number. So it's 4,000 years of the Jews, 2,000 years of the Gentiles, which we're finishing up right now. So it's a 6,000 year journey from creation, or from Adam and Eve. And then once we finish the 2,000 years, then we go with the 1,000-year millennial reign. As the 2,000 years finishes, you get the royal wedding, and then you have the 1,000-year millennial reign. So it's 4, 2, 1. That's the grand cycle of time. And so we're finishing, there's not many years left into the 2000, and then we have then the millennial reign. So Christ comes, and actually he's going to reside here on earth, and he'll be king in his kingdom. And we will be with God, be with Jesus Christ here on earth. And so that's how this ends up playing out. So we're heading into that time window, but before he returns, he has to clean house.
He does have to clean
house. It's really dirty. It's really dirty. Babylon's really dirty. They're really evil.
It is. So
what's really evil people?
Okay. So did I miss the one thing that hasn't been done before? That
Oh yeah, that's right. You had said, or you started off by saying what led you to this is because there's this very rare cycle. It's only happened one time. It happened one other time.
Right. So so when that event happens, okay, then we're going to see the stock market plunge probably down through 20,000 points. So probably in one day. Because remember, God only needs how long?
One day, yeah.
Yeah, got it. Because you watched my video. That's good. Well, you've read the Bible. The Bible, I get myself out of the Bible, but God only needs one day. Okay. So there's numerous stories of, of Daniel, from, and then Joseph, pit to the palace, Daniel, and interprets Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Next thing you know, he's put second in command of Babylon. Okay. So numerous stories of God and doing the miraculous, and the miraculous takes one day. Okay.
Right.
And then Kent Christmas in October prophesies that, it's going to happen in a 24-hour window, and the enemy will be caught on off guard. So it's going to happen in a 24-hour window. That 24-hour window, I in my heart, based on charts patterns too, I think it's going to happen here in April. That was also confirmed. And this is really important because Amanda Grace, and then that's what we got distracted on. Amanda Grace had the Holy Spirit on her, okay, and God spoke to her on stage when we met, okay, and that was on Friday, and she said, and the word of God was this: if Caesar or if Pharaoh, because we have, remember, cycles repeat, okay, so that which was then is now. So there's the Egyptians of then are Egyptians of now. Okay,
Yeah.
the Pharaoh of then, there's a new Pharaoh of now. So God's word was this. And the reason he used the word Pharaoh, because it's the Exodus, the great Exodus, right? So if Pharaoh wants a show he shall receive.
Wow.
The first strike will be in April.
Wow.
Okay. And so that lines up with the cycle that I'm looking at. Secondly, it lines up with what? Passover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened at Passover. What happened when Passover ended? Remember?
Wow.
Okay. Passover ended.
They kicked him out. They said, go.
Why? Because the angel of death showed up. So don't be
Yeah.
surprised. In April, we have, the angel of death show up
Yeah.
on them. Okay. Tables turn.
Right.
Will it happen that way? I don't know, because that's an event. I'm
Yeah.
doing time calculations, but I'm just looking back in history. Angel of death, that time point, present day, based on Passover, would be the 24th of April.
Okay.
Right.
So does that happen on that day? All I know is that you, myself, and the viewer, we're just going to watch what happens in April and March. We're just waiting and watching.
Yeah.
While at least we can have some dates we can look at. So we'll see what transpires. But if you read Isaiah 61, that was read in the temple. I think I've read this virtually on very frequent interviews, because it's such a powerful phrase. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted, and to proclaim that the captives will be released and the prisoners will be freed.
Yes.
To proclaim, and that's where he stopped. He didn't read the last line, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, because it wasn't time then. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is the point about why it's so important to understand, because who is God? Now, he's the creator, right? But in essence, what are the two words that can describe God? Love, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What's the second one? Judge.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the other part to that Isaiah 61 that he didn't read. And
right. So it's the year of the
vengeance.
Lord's favor and the day of vengeance.
Day of
And he
vengeance.
didn't use to say the year of vengeance. He didn't say the month of vengeance. He said the day of vengeance. So the point is that there's a day coming. There'll be the day of vengeance of the Lord. This is where the Lord is going to be judge.
Yeah.
And he's going to judge these people, and all hell's going to break loose on their heads. So this is what is coming. It's going to be historic, and it's going to happen this year, because we are in the 50-year Jubilee cycle, which started in September and ends in this September. So the Jubilee relates directly, like I've talked before, that relates to Roe v. Wade, which was argued in 71, and also, ties in with Nixon taking us off the gold standard when they created their own satanic money. So that was, the Babylonian money system now. And so the Babylonian system money is basically fiat money. It's just money created out of thin air. You can make as much of it as you want. That's why money expands every year. They keep creating more of it. And so that's really what's been going on over all these years. So that just gives you.
That's so powerful.
That is so powerful. A lot of people don't know that we're in that 50-year cycle of the gold standard and abortion. I mean, those two things together are.
Well, the gold cycle is important, but the abortion is what absolutely destroys God's heart. Okay, so he's a God, he's a creator, and then you got these Satanists killing.
Right.
So and his creation.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is the most offensive thing in God's sight.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand, and maybe you can kind of go into this, the stench that it causes to God with his paper fiat dollars. And, for the first 200 years of our country, we didn't have inflation. Gold was a dollar. It was stayed the same. And or an ounce of gold stayed the same, I should say. It stayed at the same price because it wasn't being manipulated. We didn't have the 1913 fiat, shenanigans going on with the banking cartels that happened. But God does not, the inflation is not this biblical thing that has to happen. You can literally, under God's system, value stays the same.
Well, and I think it also ties into this, guys. And I think I can probably speak for Bo on this, even though I've never heard him say this, but abortion is the thing that breaks God's heart, and it's the worst. But you wouldn't have abortion without the fiat currency system, and the way that the fiat currency system is actually the foundation that allowed for abortion to rise. And so we can't just fix this. We have to fix this.
The root of the problem.
We have to get to the root.
Without fiat dollars, you don't have the banks able to lend to all these giant corporations, to the military industrial complex, all that we've seen built up that's negative, that's evil. It goes back to one thing. And I don't know why pastors don't talk about this. It says God hates unjust weights and balances. He hates it. And people don't look at paper dollars as unjust weights and balances. What are unjust weights and balances? That's when you take God's money, gold and silver, and you shave off a little. You cheat. You're cheating somebody. You're lying to somebody. You're saying this is an ounce of gold when you've shaved off part of it, and you're cheating somebody. And what happens every single day when we're using these paper dollars, it's another cheat and another cheat, because it's shaved and it's shaved and it's shaved. Can you talk about that? I'm sure you've gone into unjust weights and balances.
Sure. That really ties in with Revelation, where we're at. It ties in with the seals, but it also ties in with one specific thing, the money system. That's why when I go on stage with my wife, we bring up the scales to show you that's really the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil. And it's not the money, it's the love of it. That's the thing, right? See, there's nothing wrong. It's important to have means, because when you have means, you can, that's why the wealth transfer is coming. It's going to be because you're going to be blessed. So then you can be a blessing to those around you. Mm-hmm. And then more importantly is, once you're a blessing to those around you, you're going to start building God's kingdom, because that's the wealth transfers for us, to build God's kingdom. But the root of it was the love of it. Okay. And it's just like that one saying, how do you catch a thief? Follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's how was everything pulled off over all these years? Look at what happened, in all of last, in January and November of the year prior, right? It's all because of bribes and payoffs.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Right.
And so then you can control everything. Right. So you're right. So that's why when I've gone on presentations, and every time I'm on stage or wherever I go, I want to illustrate this. So that's such an important point of the money itself is what allowed all of this to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So God is his weights and balances. So how does he stop them? He's going to flip the tables on the money changers. Like Jesus did. Okay. So you look at page, on my page 16, the hyperinflation, right? It took, I've repeated this, and this is factual information. It took 100 years to make the first $1 trillion.
Yeah.
And then if you look on page 16, you'll see a massive spike in the crash of last year of 2020. They created $7 trillion, or $7 trillion in a weekend, to push the market back up after the crash of March.
That's not fathomable. Could you just stop that right there? How can people even wrap their brain around?
You can't.
7 trillion.
If I don't even, someone told me a statistic on it, I started counting it. Right? The numbers are so big. Like, there was no such thing as a trillionaire when I was in the, in the 70s and the 80s. That wasn't unheard of, right? Because that was just too much money. Right now, it just nearly so many homes are millions of dollars now, just because of the fact of they've created so much money.
Yeah.
So it's a pool of liquidity, and so everything has a value. This is the best part. this is like a nugget, right? Everything has a value. These homes, everything all have like these big price tags, right? And these price tags are based on a fraudulent money system.
Yeah.
Every price tag that you see today is based on a fraudulent money system.
It's not true value.
Not true value. No, there's no true price discovery. It's just basically there. It just is so much money that it just everything's pumped up in price, right?
Right.
And so back to gold and silver, when the 24-hour window period happens, the day of the Lord's vengeance, the tables flip. The tables will flip, just like you saw happen to the money changers, and then that takes us to the third seal of Revelation. So, what is a third seal? It's a black horse, death.
Yeah.
Death is coming to these people for what they did.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, not probably very little or none to God's church. This is to the people that did it all. Okay. That sowed the evil seeds. Thou you shall reap. Okay. That's the flipping of the tables. And then you see on the horse, he's holding scales. Okay. So that's the financial system that is a little bit out of balance. Out of balance, like you can have, so everything's piled on one side.
Balance.
Yeah, it's all on one side, right? And the true assets, gold and silver, are being manipulated. But when they lose control of it,
right?
I read somewhere, someone wrote something on my comments, even like, that's why you watch some movies, the silver bullet.
Yeah.
It just kills everything.
Right.
There's a reason for it. It destroys evil.
Yeah.
The silver is the kill shot. Okay.
Yeah.
So when silver when it starts going up, see, it's silver is gold on steroids. That was coined by Jim Sinclair. When silver starts going up, every dollar is billions of dollars to the banks of losses. So that's why, we were in a 50-year cycle of Jubilee. What is a Jubilee? It's a debt forgiveness. Well, how do you forgive a debt? How might this happen? So I'm just giving you what, Leviticus talks about Jubilee. Okay.
Yeah.
And what it's like debt forgiveness. Well, how could that happen? Well, let's think about that, right? If you owe a certain bank X amount of money on a mortgage, but that bank gets blown up by silver, then the bank is no longer there. So there's no one that's holding those notes anymore. And then just and bye-bye, and so this is what's potentially going to happen, I believe this year. And then the bond market, then at least the bond market breaking, and next thing you know, all the banks start to have these massive financial issues, right? And then so the world goes into chaos, and this ties into 45. Okay. Yeah. So the reason he's not there today, because we're still in Babylon. He returns in the new era.
Wow.
And why does he return in the new era? It's very important. What is his gift given to him by God? He's a builder. So he comes to rebuild what God destroyed. So he's not going to come back and rebuild Babylon. He's going to build he's going to build a kingdom economy. He's going to start building God's kingdom here on earth.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we believe God's been speaking. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you just have that intervention. So this is that moment in time where God intervenes. Go ahead.
No, we don't think that God's done with Trump yet. I don't know what he has. I believe that
he's just sitting aside right now, taking a little breather.
But I don't even think he knows. Right? Like, I think that he still has, if you go back to Kim Clement's prophecy, he says he'll go in whispering my name and he'll come out shouting my name. And I think that God still wants to do a pressing in Trump that brings him.
I think we're beyond that already. I think, I think Trump has realized that he can't do anything without God.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if an angel visited him. I wouldn't be surprised if he knows crystal clear what God's plans are at this point in time. And I think he knows when he needs to pounce, but he's not going to pounce until God moves.
Releases. Yeah. Because
so the word that I got repetitively this week was hold the line.
Ooh.
Okay. So where does that tie in with, the great, the Exodus, stand firm and watch the salvation of the Lord, for he will work for you.
Yeah.
I tell people, that's what I tell people. Hey, guys, it's really bad right now. Okay. I don't know.
And it's going to get worse. Oh, no. And you need to tell them it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse.
Yeah. And it will get worse for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. But here's the thing. This is what I tell people. I say, guys, they either get their great reset or we get our great reset. Okay. There's no
middle of the road. We reached the end.
A precipice. We have reached the end of the journey here. Okay. We are at the Red Sea. Either God comes and rescues us or Pharaoh takes control. So we're either going to see God move in a miraculous way.
But we already know the end of the story, which is beautiful.
We are more than conquerors. We reign as kings and priests. We can, I honestly kind of feel a Narnia moment. Like I can feel Aslan coming. Like I can sense it. And those who have ears to hear and eyes to see can be like, oh, Jesus isn't abandoning us. On the contrary, he's coming with a great cloud of angels, and we are going to take this back, and it's going to be glorious and it's going to be awesome. But I think you're right. It is going to get worse before it gets better. We haven't reached rock bottom.
Well, the death, God.
Well, let's talk about worse. Go ahead.
No, it's just there were so many things that you said here today that literally my brain is checking off words that God has given me. Like it's just like check. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, and I've known it's legitimate, but like you were talking about having those words of confirmation, then you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, but that death that's coming to the wicked, it is very real. And it's very important that we have the blood of Christ on our doorsteps as we go into this, guys. It's so important that you get your life right, or you are going to go the way of Pharaoh's firstborn. It's just, that's what's happening.
Yeah. Choose this day who you will serve. Yeah. You know, this is important to touch on. You know, you talked about Babylon. What is Babylon? Okay. So read the story, read Daniel 2. Okay. Mm-hmm. Daniel 2, and Daniel 2 talks about the statue of Babylon. All right. This was an interpretation. God gave Daniel the interpretation. Daniel then gave the interpretation to Nebuchadnezzar, and in a 24-hour window from that night supposed to be killed, and in the morning, then he becomes the second in command. Right. The prophecy was truly incredible because this was given 2,500 years ago, where Daniel described Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, the papacy, and the United States. Like, holy mackerel! Like a 2,500 year prophecy. So mind-blowing, but it all happened precisely as stated. The last part isn't finished yet. We get to watch it happen. Okay. So the last part of the statue is right here. Okay. It talks about the rock. Okay. So let's describe what this means. So you've got Statue of Liberty standing. I mentioned this before, you may know this, but basically the Statue of Liberty was originally a Muslim woman. Okay. And then we talk also about Egypt. So we talk Pharaoh. Okay. So the slogan for it was Egypt carrying the light to Asia. So pharaohs of the present day carrying the light to China.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
It really is. And not to make this, the links are there. You can check them out, and it's right there. So Babylon still stands. All right. And so this is now, when I say war, it's going to get worse. Okay. So it depends on what side of the fence you're sitting on. So those who don't know what's coming, this is going to be truly chaotic for them. This will be mind blowing for them. They're going to be freaking out when they start seeing this stuff happen. But that which was built by Babylon gets taken down.
Wow.
All right. So this fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place for demons. For all nations have drunk the wine of the passions of her sexual immorality, and the merchants of earth have grown rich from the power of her luxurious living. That is Revelation 18, 2 through 3. So we're about to see this go down. That was Revelation 18. The statue of Daniel is that last part is Daniel's 2:34. And as you look, the stone was cut out by no human hand.
Yes.
Which means a stone, maybe an asteroid, was cut out by no human hand. Okay, so this is a biblical event. God is going to move his hand, and the stone was cut up by no human hand, and it struck the image, this Daniel statue, at its feet, of iron and clay and broke them to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So that would equate to, my interpretation would be very highly likely the fall of the Statue of Liberty. And so when people see that, they're going to freak out. Okay. But that's just the start of it, right? Because you also have Washington. Well, Washington is a satanic, or, is built by the Masons, and that has nothing to do with God.
Right.
Bye-bye.
That's good.
Okay. So, but when these things happen, could you imagine what people are going to be saying?
Yeah.
Right. But this is the fall of Babylon, Babylon the Great. She has fallen. So this is how this is lining up, and then that lines into, and then so that's this whole event. So like Revelation 18:2-3, Daniel 2:34, Proverbs 13:22, which is the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous, and a third seal of Revelation. They're all the same event. They're all three of those events, or Bible verses, describe the same event where God intervenes and takes down Babylon. So I hope that gives you a bigger perspective. But so we're the seals have started to open as of 2020, and so we're at second seal, which is war. Actually, second seal we can even touch based on that, but that second seal right here, that was a George Floyd riots, and that happened on Pentecost. So that was the opening of the second seal. Powerful. And so what's happening right now. So now when a seal opens, right, it doesn't close anymore. So you'll continue to see wars and rumors of wars, right? Because peace is taken from the earth. And so when you read Matthew 24:6-8, it says, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you're not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. So we're not in, this is like not the end of the world. We're not saying there's no World War III about to happen. Okay, people need to chill, just read the Bible, go back to the Word. But what are they doing? They're freaking everybody out. Next thing you know, they're going to now invade the United States. Let's turn the news on. I think I watched maybe 3 seconds of it, because I hear through people what they're saying, and it's like horrible.
They're
just trying to scare the heck out of everybody.
They use fear.
That's the tool. Fear is a tool. So nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes. Okay, so when God moves, expect earthquakes to go off, expect volcanoes to explode, expect like holy mackerel to occur. Okay, there's just like the earth is going to rumble. But the prophetic word low is vocal sharp. This is a beautiful word. It's so simple. That's like God is. When he speaks, is like it's so precise, right? The earth will rumble, and evil will crumble. Come on. Thank you, God. Thank you, Lois. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that's really good.
So good. I love that.
The earth will rumble and evil will crumble.
Yep. So is this too early in the point of your presentation to go into the arcs?
Yeah, so the arcs of safety are yes. Right. So let's talk about that. I want to finish with, so there will be famines and earthquakes. So we talk about that. And then all of these things are the beginning of birth pains. Okay. So what's being birthed? A new era.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. A new era. Thy kingdom come is the birth of the new era. And then we're supposed to see that coming here in the month of May. Okay. So the new era is supposed to be birthed in May. Because we do the calculations of a child, right, and mother. So a new year would be September 6th. That's a start. It's 9 months, takes us into May.
Okay.
So the birth would be in May.
Okay.
So that's a very critical time point. But so all these things that we're seeing happen right now are all tying in with the birth of this new era. I apologize. What was the question you said earlier? You had
she just wanted to know when we can go to talk about the arcs.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the arcs of safety are to be built with the blessings. Okay. So right now you are to prepare, and if you're to be a steward of the day, right? Because we're coming into 7 years. We're in the 7 years of plenty, and now we head into the 7 years of famine. And that's going to be a real thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to prepare now. And then what happens on top of, understanding, the biblical scriptures, loving Christ, The main financial way of preparing would be to hold his money. And then when God revalues his money and raises it and flips the tables, we're going to see, prices like you can't imagine. Matthew talks about 30, 60, 100 full blessings. Eventually, silver will become priceless. So the price would be just extraordinary because of the technology that it brings. But we'll be able to build and purchase, get land, whatever you need to do to situate, the bride, because we are to be in the world, not of it. So the arks of safety are something that Lois Vogelsharp talks about as well too. But that's Isaiah 60 or 61:20 through 21. But it says, for go behind closed doors, my children, for a short while my indignation pours down on the earth. Go behind closed doors is you need to be, so it's not a physical door, but you're going to be tucked away in the arks. And then so protect yourself so while my indignation pours down on the earth. So we'll be here in these latter times, but we'll be, have arks, or, will be food there, water there, animals, we'll be able to, still be sufficient, whatever you need.
Yeah.
We'll be there. You'll be separate of Babylon, because Babylon still, even though it gets, knocked down, the Antichrist still, God gave him a window. Okay, there is a window of time that he will rise back up. So as much as this is going to be fantastic, what's about to happen here, this is not over. It's not over, because only Christ finishes he finishes the deal.
Right.
Christ, the return of Christ brings closure, but we're still years out from the royal wedding.
Right.
We talked about earlier. So I'll kind of give you a big picture perspective there.
Wow. No, that's so good. And that goes into what we tell our viewers all the time, to prepare, to do what you can, to stock up, to learn, specifically to learn ancient trades, learn how to purify water, learn how to bake bread, learn how to, some people don't even know how to build a fire.
Yeah, I learned how to make bread. I've learned. Awesome. I like to learn things. I just thought, try to learn things every so often, but it's important, why not, because it's like we're so handicapped, when you eat something, you just press a button and it shows up on Amazon, and take a drive to the local store and go buy something, so you need to learn how to do things. Like seriously, my parents, they grew up like knowing how to can things and jar things, and to me that's like alien, but I watched them do it. I know it's possible, so it's not that it's just things that we've all forgotten how to do, but people for generations have done this stuff. You understand? We're like the only generation that's like so mentally like
we are literally blind. The only generation. There's my favorite farmer. His name is Joel Salatin. We watched Food Inc. and we couldn't oh gosh, we have to start raising our own animals. We grew up in the city. We grew up in apartments, and people think we grew up on a farm. No, we read a bunch of books and we watched YouTubes, and we just learned. We learned how to. We have a good friend of ours, and he helped build some pig pens, and we started with piglets, and we just grew them, and then we took them to the butcher, and then we watched some Amish people butcher them, and we have an awesome guy friend, and he's like, I think we can do this. So he built a scalding tank. We put it on a fire. Our first pig, we prayed about it. We're like, okay, goodbye, pig. And boom,
the trick is never give him a name.
We did. I kid you not. So this was years ago, because we've since butchered a lot of pigs. So every time a pig goes in one of our freezers and we're upstairs in the kitchen and we're butchering them, I label the paper so I can tell which pig it was. I just give them their name and I just write it on there. I
think Harold is in the freezer right now.
Harold is in the freezer right now.
Right.
But we learned and we grew, and these are kind of things that I want everybody to get to learn how to plant a seed in some soil. And it doesn't have to be, because a lot of people are still in apartments. Leah, what do? I don't have any land. For me, the number one thing is, are you willing and ready? You're willing and ready. Are you willing and ready to learn? I tell people, if God showed up at your front door with a cow, would you say, no, I don't want it? Are you open to God's blessings? Are you open to more natural things? But you hit on something. You said, we're handicapped, is what you said. And we're literally the only generation in the history of all history that we don't know how to survive.
Yeah. Yep.
We just literally don't know how, imagine I'm watching this 1883 on VidAngel with filters. And
it's a TV, it's
a show, and they're going out to Oregon around, and it's like, there's no Home Depot on the way. There's no McDonald's on the way. If you got to hunt, you've got to build your own fire. You got to boil your water. And these people did it, and they lived and they survived. And obviously they survived, and they had a lot of kids because we're all here.
Yeah. Well, and they do it. The devil has taken this from us because he wants to handicap us. That's number one. But number two, he wants to separate us from God's perfect design. God placed man in a garden. He could have sent him to cities. Actually, Cain is the one that got sent to the city. Yeah. So as a kind of a punishment, or not even a punishment, but that's just where he went. And so I see like God kind of reconciling his people back to this amazing design that he created for us. He did not intend for us to be backwards, because a lot of people, we want to get back to I don't want to go back that way. God is about moving forward, but there is sometimes you have to go back to the ancient paths in order to be able to move forward. There was a beautiful design that God created for us back in the garden. And so our heart is to get people back there, not just from a preparedness standpoint, but because it really is, when you touch the soil, when you watch something grow, when you see piglets born and you watch them nurse, there's something that you touch God when you see that, when you live it, when it's a part of your daily life. And Satan has tried to pull society away from it, but it's going to be a blip. We're going to look back at this time of history and laugh. Like
that's what Joel Salatin said. We'll look back at the past 100 years as kind of a blip.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's true. It's just the whole world, how everything's come together right now. But we're at a point right now where we just have to be patient and let God do his thing. We need to pray and be patient. We need to rest. This is a time of rest. As crazy as it's just, we're in this is the year of Jubilee. It's just rest. Stand firm, and God's got this. He's going to do this, and he's not going to forsake his bride. And this is all a matter of timing. And so the event, whichever and whatever it's going to be, however it goes down, honestly, I don't know. It's God's secret, right? Yeah. But the timing of it is lined up with what Amanda stated, with what I'm looking with regard to cycles, and it lines also up with Passover. So, one thing that I've gotten would be John 11, and John 11 basically talks about Lazarus, right? Lazarus died in the tomb. Well, United States, this is another word you're going to enjoy, but United States must die. Babylon has to die, okay? And then it will be reborn in the new era as a new United States.
So we just did a show last night. Was that just last night, or was that in our own personal time of prayer? And Leah and I, she got out the guitar, and this was actually after we had done that show with Cassandra, and the power of God was so on that show that afterwards, Leah and I just stood here, and she had her guitar, and we're just singing and praying and getting words from God. And she's like, we have to go live. We have to do a show. We have to just give this to our viewers. So we did. But in that, we kept talking about a resurrection and resurrecting the United States. Literally, that's what just kept coming out. And so it's not a new statement for you, but for us, the timing of God giving us that God's going to resurrect the United States last night, just before we have you on the show. To me, that's just mind-blowing.
To add to some of like the confirmations, and I get certain words from God, not a whole lot. Some I write down. And in 2015, in 2015, in May of 2015, I have this prophecy, and I kept showing it to everybody around. And I was like, guys, I don't know why I'm praying in the spirit, and I just keep getting Russia. 2015, Russia. Nobody talked about Russia. I had been there when I was a teenager. There was nothing about Russia. And I just kept praying Russia, like that, just 3, Russia, over and over and over again. And then I got this word Sunday, and I kept saying Sunday. And I kept waiting for something to happen on a Sunday. It wasn't until the solar eclipse that we went
of 2017
that we we're at a solar eclipse and we experienced it. It's a really great experience. And I was like, I got this Russia thing. And I know what that is now because they going after Donald Trump for this Russia. And I got this Sunday and I don't know what it means. And I'm literally at this solar eclipse. Well, there's going to be another solar eclipse in 2024. And it's literally, there's these two intersections of these solar eclipses from sea to shining sea over America. And they intersect somewhere around Missouri, the eastern part of Missouri. But God talks to us in signs and times. But the last word that the Lord gave me before he gave me this like long prophecy was, and it had to do with judgment on the nation, was nuclear, and then in parentheses, bomb. And it's so very interesting to me. And then later on in 2015, I got this one word over and over and over again. I still couldn't figure out what it was until just 2 months ago. 3 months ago in December. Two. It's
not really one word. Well, I guess the one word is two.
And I just kept saying two, over and over and over again. So much so that I said, fine, I'll write it down. Okay. I had no idea what that meant. And then in December of 2021, the Lord was like, that's 2022. I've been trying to tell you. And I was like, what? And he said, put those two together. Russia, the solar eclipse, nuclear, and then bombs going off. And then right in February of 2222, we've got Russia heading towards Ukraine. And Russia. And what do we hear right now? Russia. What is happening right now where we have Russia that has taken over what? Chernobyl.
Nuclear.
And then bombs are going off. And those were two different things. It wasn't a nuclear bomb. It was nuclear and then bombs. And my mind is blown. And I'm not the only one getting this stuff. Everybody else was like 2222 is a big date. And I was like, you got that too? And I was like, okay, and we saw this huge thing happening, and then there's a shift happening. And so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there as like, what you were saying is that people, you don't call yourself a prophet, whatever you want, whatever, it doesn't matter. People, we're all designed to hear from God.
We're literally designed as receptacles.
And then when you hear somebody else hearing the same thing that you were hearing, there's no way for you to have known this.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no way for me to have known Russia. Absolutely no way on the planet Earth. Okay. And when I saw that, and when I figured it, when it first dawned on me after they were going after Trump with Russia, I was like, hey, you guys, I have it written down. So
at that point, that's when we kind of were like, okay, we need to tune into the rest of those. So I'm seeing this next slide. What do you got on the 222 thing?
Right. So center of end times. Have you seen this before? So there you go, May 26th, based on all the eclipses. Okay. So I'm not going to go into that, but people can study that. So May 26th is right here. So 90 degrees. So remember 360 degrees a circle, right? So 90 degrees. Love it. So August 24th, on the precise day, Russia and Saudi Arabia signed a military pact. The U.S. had one. So basically now you've got a problem because Russia is protecting Saudi Arabia now. Okay. Mm-hmm. Straight down from 180 degrees is February 2222. Okay. So February 20th, and then February 20th right here. So the U.S. February 20th, the U.S. sanctions began on 2222, and then the war began on 2222. On 24. So this is the war issue. This is the Russia issue right here. It's 180 degrees from August 24th, give or take a few days. And now we're heading into 22322.
Yeah.
22322.
Yeah.
Wow.
Skull and bones. This is not God's stuff. This is their stuff. They say the Satanists, but they love this number. This is their Yale skull and bones.
That's their number. Okay.
Yeah. So something might go off there. Right before that, like all heck's about to break loose, because right before that you got Perm.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So this is really an interesting time point, because you got Perm going off right there.
Yeah.
And right here you got 322. And then you've got basically the earth will rumble, evil will crumble. So that's something supposed to be going off here, because you've got that in April right in here. Right. And then we head into May. So there's very little time left here for the new era to be birthed, right? Starting and coming in May.
Right.
When we look at so we talked about childbirth before. So we got 9 months into May 5th through June 3. And then you got the Red Sea moment, 20 days to get from it took them to get to the Red Sea. They're pinned up against the Red Sea. And then God closed after about 20 days. I think it was 20 days, it might have been 25 days. So anywhere between May 14th to the 21st, that's where the time point where the Red Sea will close on the pharaohs of this day.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, and I was waiting for you to get to that one. That's how we started. I was like, okay, I need May.
Yeah. So May, somewhere right in this time window right here, potentially, that's where it's supposed to go off, but we'll see what God's plan is. But this will be where the Red Sea would close, somewhere in there in May. And then, so that would be right here to the really the essence of the whole talk today is, and Moses said to the people, fear not.
Fear not.
Stand firm.
So good.
And see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. I added this, for the present day Egyptians, whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you.
Oh man, that's fire. Man. That is legit fire. And that melds with this reign of righteousness that God's speaking to me, and how the laws are going to be easy to be changed. Everybody's like, these laws are so hard to change. And it's so because you're trying to do it in the wrong system.
Right.
And I believe that this nation was founded on godly principles. This is a godly nation. I'm not throwing that away at all. I believe that, but Babylon has infiltrated that, and it is, and it has to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And when it does, and when people wake up and they see it, it's just everything is going to be so
the point
easy.
of destruction will be the John 11, right? Or where things go dark. So just know that there'll be a window of time there where things just go dark. There's like the media won't be talking, nothing's going on, earthquakes have gone off, and it's just quiet.
Yes.
It's just
that's a solar eclipse. When you
we're talking here. And that's what I'm talking in the next probably.
No.
What I mean is, there's a weird feeling.
Did you see the solar eclipse in person? Did you go to one of the places? Because I don't think you probably saw it in California.
I've seen it before, but
but like when you go to one of the, what do they call it? Totalities.
Yeah.
One of the areas there specific where it literally, what happens is what you're describing is all of the animals and bugs. Everything goes quiet. It is the most, and there's this kind of haze, and everybody, it's complete, like everything stops.
Yeah.
And then as it comes back, the birds start chirping again.
Yeah.
Everything. It's so
surreal. So what you're describing is that feeling that we had when we saw that solar eclipse, that moment where it goes into totality and everything stops.
So I think what you're describing is definitely going to happen right now. But I really feel like the idea of the solar eclipse happening in 2017 and 2024, those are bookends. Of a story.
Yes, exactly. And then so the event that's coming is going to be a John 11 event, where it's through the Lazarus moment. And the Lazarus moment is basically everything just goes quiet.
Yeah.
Everything just goes quiet. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say because everyone's like going, what happened?
There's nothing to say.
Nothing to say. Nothing to say. It's just going to go quiet.
This is so encouraging for people, because if you've been in this battle for as long as we have, and as long as Bo has been, and so many viewers that are watching right now, when you've been in this battle, you get tired, and how many of us are just literally asking God, when, Lord, when? Because I'm getting battle worn, I'm tired. But to see this moment and to be humbled that we are chosen to live for just such a time as this, it's absolutely mind blowing. And I love the way that God speaks to you, and through the numbers and through the word. And I love that you always bring it back to the word.
Yeah.
Whether you're listening to a prophet, whether you're listening to Bo, whether you're listening to Leah and I, you always have to bring it back to the word of God. And it's interesting. I just got an email today from a longtime viewer who watched our program last night. And she said, you were talking about fleeing the cities, like getting out of the cities, like essentially getting out of Babylon. And she said, this was Robin, by the way, she's like, I'm going to pull out. She's made the phone call to pull out. And she said, I know that all of my money and my IRA and everything is in the Babylonian system. And she literally just now, God pushed on her, and she's switching it all over to a gold IRA. And I was just really proud of her, and so proud of so many people that it seems difficult to make these leaps from the Babylonian system to a God-based system, but you need to do it, and you need to do it right now.
just remember, even the IRA, right? That's still, as much as you've done that, you're still in their system.
Yeah.
What happens if the gold
I
that's
agree.
in the IRA is not there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you want that. Your IRA needs to be physical.
I love how Lynette Zhang always goes, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. She says that on her shows all the time.
Yeah.
I agree. And shields are made of metal.
Like, well, gold and silver are to be in your control.
Yes, absolutely. So what's this?
What they've done is they've stuck a middleman. Again, back to evil. What does evil do? He gets in the middle of everything.
Gets in the middle, like literally the snake in the garden. Satan gets in the middle of what God had already spoken.
Because when the system falls, if you can't access your bank, if you can't access your, you can't get online to make any withdrawals, it's not.
But I get that it's a big leap. So I was proud of her because I feel like, and Robin already knows where we stand. It's a really good first step, I think, because it's a big leap. It's very scary for people to pull out, from that system. But I think that there's a lot more steps to go.
And that's why it's not for any of us to give anybody advice on what they should do. Every financial decision people make is theirs and theirs alone. So that's why it's not for us to tell somebody what to do. I can tell you what I've done. I can tell you what I can look through the math and through the numbers of where prices could go based on the Bible. So you run, Matthew 5, Matthew 13, blessings are 30, 60, and 100 fold. You can do the math on what prices could be in the future, right? So those are just mathematical calculations you can run, but everybody has to do them for themselves. Even if we say the numbers, people either think it's, a godly or it's crazy.
Right.
That's a personal choice. And their belief system is based on what they accept as the truth, right? And so we could say something all day. We can be, as we're talking here, many people, have eyes to hear, eyes to see, and ears to hear, and many might hear what we're saying, but they don't listen.
Yeah.
And that is the truth, right? So that is the reason why need to go through this great awakening, because God needs to rumble and shake this world up. There's going to be events, like we talked back to the beginning of this conversation, there's going to be events that are going to happen upon this earth that people are going to say, the only way this could have happened is by the hand of God. There must be a God, because nothing like this has ever happened before.
Yes.
And the event is so big that they're like, it's not even possible unless God did it. There must be a God. That's what's going to be stated, I guarantee you, even on the news.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good word.
We'll be stating that fact, because the events will be so big. There'll be no way to work their way through. Oh, it could have been. No, it's not even going to be possible that they can't talk their way out of it. Right. They're just going to have to state the truth.
And that. What I'm finding is kind of a precursor to that. We're seeing a lot of people, and we've had a lot of people come to us, like atheists or agnostics or whatever, that are converting, and they're going over the past 2 years. I've seen just how evil it is that there has to be a God. And I feel like that's a precursor to whatever is coming, where then they just make the giant leap to, okay, that was God. There's no going around it. So, Bo, I'm so glad that you came on our show. Did you have anything last that you wanted to share with this last slide?
So May 14th, very powerful day calculation wise. It's 888 months to the precise day from when Israel was pronounced a state.
Wow.
And it's 911 months to the exact day from when Trump was born.
Oh, wow.
So does it mean anything? I guess we're going to find out on May 14th, aren't we?
Okay. Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So, back, right, heading into the new era, and, there's your slide. This, why May 14th, the mid-May time point is very powerful. Ultimately, the reset that they're trying to push for, like you talked about earlier, that's going to get squashed. This is not the time for it now. Okay. What's coming is the wealth transfer, the Great Awakening. The third seal moment, which is the Great Awakening, and it's all going to be because the truth will set us free.
Oh,
I could just keep going and going and going. Your slides are impeccable.
They are.
They're so
good.
awesome. Like they literally, you just have to sit down. You got to look at them. You just really got to look through them.
There's so much in them.
All right.
So much in them.
So where can people find you? Where's your favorite place to post?
Isn't it gold2020forecast.com?
Yeah. Yeah. So gold. And then the year 2020, that was the beginning of the end. This is not the 7-year tribulation. We're just, but the start of the opening of the seals. Okay. So gold2020forecast.com. And then you can also just go to YouTube and type my name in, and then on there, my videos will pop up as well too.
Yeah.
So
You're not hard to find like a lot of our other guests.
Are you on
very easy to find.
Any other social media? Are you on Gab or Twitter or anything?
I just, for now, that's what I use. So
okay, YouTube easy. As long as you can be there, honestly.
For real. Yeah.
All right. So Bo, can we end in prayer? Would you end us in prayer?
Sure. Let's do that. Usually I have my wife do the prayer, but I'll do it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Father, I thank you so much for having the ability to be on the show. Leah and Michelle are two beautiful ladies that you have created, put on this earth for such a time as this. Lord, bless the viewers, bless everybody who's listening to this show, that they have ears to hear and eyes to see, that they wake up to the truth, your truth. Let them know that you are God, the Father, the creator of all things, and then that they learn about the word Jesus Christ, your son, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. We look forward to the day of your vengeance, not for the evil that's going to come up, not for the things that are going to happen to these people, but for the fact that we get to witness and be witnesses here on this earth to your move.
Amen.
Here on earth. God bless all the viewers that are here for this show today.
Amen. Oh, it's so good.
Amen.
This has been such a breath of fresh air. I think it was a change of pace for our viewers to hear some of the things we've been saying, but from a different angle. And I think you probably will get a few new subscribers from this.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Remember, guys, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth.
Yeah.
We love you. God loves you. God bless.
God bless.
I was cold.